identity as an Indian American student. She would be called the American kid, quote unquote, when visiting her family in India. Or she would be mocked by students for bringing Indian food for lunch. Sia moved to Wilton in her freshman year, and she made a mature and brave decision to enter our talent show and perform a beautiful classical Indian dance in front of predominantly a white student body. Although extremely nervous, she managed to get through the dance and took second place. This left a positive impression on the students and staff. Sia is incredibly proud of this moment, as it broke down barriers, allowed her confidence to soar, and also allowed herself and others to start the process of acceptance and having the courage to support others. Sia is a leader in her clubs and activities. She's a vice president of Mock Trial and a board member of Model Congress. She is a member of the debate team and student government. These activities have shaped her public speaking abilities greatly and have influenced her desire to pursue a major in political science and pre-law. Sia is passionate about Indian classical dance. Earlier this year, she celebrated her orangutan and performed her dances in front of about 300 close family, friends, and teachers. It was a tremendous accomplishment and required rigorous preparation. She has also participated on a swim team for 8 years, piano lessons for 11 years, Bollywood dancing for 10 years. She's an active member of Ecole Volunteering, which is an organization that funds education for rural schools in India. She's passionate, diligent, humble, inspirational, creative, well-spoken. The list can go on. She'll be an outstanding, motivational, and encouraging leader in all of our future endeavors, and starting next year at the University of Michigan. So congratulations, Sia, and thank you.
So how do you find 48 hours in a 24-hour day?
Congratulations.
Great dad got it. I see you.
And I know Dr. O'Donnell does not mean any disrespect by leaving, but his second career is as a Broadway star in a musical. So I needed to duck out. All right, Mr. Higgins.
So it's my turn. This is one of those moments it's really fun to be a principal because I get to stand up here and brag about some of the accomplishments from about some of our kids. And what I'm going to share with you is quotes or comments from all staff members, and I guess it's important for everybody to recognize the two students that I'm about to present to you are students that were presented to our entire staff, and then our entire staff made some comments about some of the wonderful accolades about these two children, and then we voted as a staff as who best to represent us as CAPE student leaders. And the two young people I'm about to describe fit every bit of the criteria that is outlined here. So first I'll talk about Will Olmsted, who's here with his mom, Dina, and his dad, Will, and his brother, right? His little brother, Oliver, is here just to give true family love for tonight. But I'll tell you a little bit about Will. First of all, one of the things he did in his spare time this year is he created a website. He created a student website, had, what, about 3 or 4 meetings with me, Will? Something like that, just to talk about the progress and how it was going. Honestly, I don't have the first clue how to make that sort of thing, so when we have a 14-year-old, 13-year-old telling you how to do these things, it's pretty special, and you should check it out. It's pretty important that the students themselves get to see it and use it every day now to see some of the information put together. His teachers have shared that all of his assignments are completed on time, and they reflect his current learning as a straight A student. He has a wide variety of interests. He's genuine and an empathetic soul, I should say. He's a science fair winner, in engineering for his development of 3D shoes, which he was wearing when he ran down to accept his award, by the way, which was pretty nice, bright yellow shoes. He is a web leader. That's where everybody belongs to committee here. It's a leader of the 8th grade and also participates in Ultimate Frisbee. He's worldly and well-traveled, has a global perspective that's reflected in his writing. He's working toward his Eagle Scout, and you may or may not recognize Will in that he was somewhat famous, I think it was this past summer, in the paper. When was it in the paper?
A year ago?
Was it a year ago now? Boy, time flies. But he slept in a tent all year long, every day. And they did a little piece on him in the paper, so you may or may not have seen that when that came out. But Will thinks of others before himself. He opens the door for people. How about that as an old soul, right? Anything positive, this is a quote from one of his teachers, anything positive can now just be called Will Olmsted from now on. He frequently offers unsolicited help. He's the first one to volunteer to help. He is leading the effort to raise money for people impacted by the conflict in Ukraine. He spends several lunch periods assembling and selling ribbons to try to raise money for them. He has larger goals that he's working towards. He wants to start a campaign to help keep underfunded schools safe. He's developing a website that would allow people to donate money to do just this. He's an active class participant. When students are quiet or unwilling to speak, you can always count on Will to help. He wants to learn and takes risks in his work. He learns for the sake of learning, not just to keep those straight A's going. He's kind. He's kind to everyone. He speaks to his peers and adults easily. He's willing to work with all students, and he's a servant leader to all groups. Our male representative of CAVE leader, Will Olmsted. So.
That's amazing. Like, so we'll get a certificate. Okay, so much of their past, they might even still- I don't know, I'll take a picture. Let's make sure we get one.
Will, did you get one?
I got it. Okay, great. All right, congratulations.
Okay, yeah, why not? Lucille's letting Izzy's parents in,
Oh, perfect.
just to let them be able to be seen while they're so proud of their daughter. For us here in the room, Izzy Coyote is in the top left corner there. Hi, Izzy. And I just have the distinct pleasure and honor of being able to talk about her a little bit right now. She, too, is an excellent student, straight A's, and participates well in all of her classes. She, too, is a web leader, again, where everybody belongs, meaning one of those leaders that takes care of orientation for our 6th graders, not only over the summer, but then throughout the school year. She's very well-rounded. She plays soccer, she's a singer, does theater, and enjoys writing. She accepts additional challenges, and get this, as a middle school student, she sang a Constitution song with a friend for extra credit in social studies. Do you remember that, Izzy? Yeah. She's also assisting teachers with workshop for peers, and she's very good at using some of the school tech platforms and always willing to help. She writes music. Additionally, she's an extremely good singer. I think she's very glad to be coming out of the protocols tonight, right, Izzy, to be able to go on the trip tomorrow. She takes voice lessons. She performs shows in the Wilton Children's Theater. This fall, she was the wardrobe in The Beauty and the Beast, as well as for Wire Mill Academy. She sings with our 8th grade chorus and Middlebrook singers, and she's an extremely motivated musician and actor. She's honest. She's friendly to everyone, peers and adults alike. She helps teachers remember to open up the Zoom for students. In fact, that was kind of a running joke this week when she's had to be out, where her teachers were looking for Izzy to be that little reminder in the moment to, you have to open up the Zoom to let Izzy in. She's a very attentive listener and note taker in class. She helps others, specifically other students, understand concepts during small group and partner work. She has a nice balance between school, academics, and friends. And get this, she works out with her dad. As a girl dad myself, I think that's pretty cool. Works out with her dad. She actually happens to be one of those anomalies in that she's been on the yellow teams all 3 years at Middlebrook. And in the beginning of the year, in the team survey, she described herself as musical, funny, and caring. I present to you Izzy Coyote.
Exactly. So, Izzy, I know Izzy's parents are watching at home. Congratulations. We're so very proud of you. Mrs. Lowe and I will find a morning, either next week or early the following week. We'll meet you. We'll set it up. We'll meet you in your office for pictures, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. We can invite your parents to come and do a little photo op with us.
Congratulations, yeah.
But congratulations. We're very proud of you.
And congratulations to Cindy and Fred, her parents. They're on the call. They're hiding, I think.
Great. So, Mr. Higgins, thank you. Mr. Keating, thank you. Thank Dr. O'Donnell, but he's on stage at this point. Folks, you do not have to stay for the rest of this meeting. So I know you guys have some studying and homework to do, but we appreciate you being here for the first part and celebrating with us. And please know just how proud we are of what you're doing and all of your accomplishments.
Congratulations.
Right. And Izzy, you don't have to stay either.
Good night, Izzy.
Is that a graduate? Yeah. All right.
He was adorable when he was 4 and 3 and 2. And he's adorable still.
Well, they all do so much. I mean, I'm tired.
Right?
Just trying to imagine how
Busy.
they do it all. But those are her great leader ambassadors, so thanks for letting us know about that. Okay, that brings us to comments from the public. We don't see anyone, excuse me, in the room. Is there anyone online?
Nobody raising their hand.
Great.
Okay, thanks. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thanks, Jen. Second? Second. Thanks, Ruth. All in favor? Okay. We did the Student Leader Awards. My report is very short. I want to thank the Wilton voters who came out to the town meeting and the follow-up voting for supporting the budget. We are incredibly grateful. We have our resources set for next year. Also like to take a moment to thank everyone along the way who attended various meetings and voiced their support. And finally, thanks to Superintendent Smith and his whole team for developing and shepherding the budget process. So thank you. And onward, I know we have about 5 minutes until it starts all over again. But
Already started.
yeah. But anyway, thanks for the community support, so thank you. Superintendent's report?
I have a number of updates this evening. I wanted to start and take a minute. As I'm sure you are all well aware, there was a terrible tragedy in a community just north of us, the untimely death of a young man, Jimmy McGrath, 17-year-old who attends prep, lives in Shelton, was killed very tragically last Saturday night. Just want to say and join so many others. Jimmy was a multi-sport athlete who played in clubs as well as his youth teams and school teams. But those sports worlds, particularly lacrosse, is a very small world, and so there are lots of cross-community connections, and so there are a number of students in this community who were teammates of Jimmy over the years, and so we joined so many others in just taking a moment to think about him, to think about his family, and to think about so many who have just been devastated by this unnecessary tragedy. And so I wanted to just start there and just recall them for a moment. Thank you. A couple of other things on a seriously brighter note. As you heard, Dr. O'Donnell is on stage or about to be on stage, so our spring musical has kicked off. It kicked off last night. Our students are putting on Legally Blonde. It'll run tonight. It'll run Saturday night, and then it'll run Sunday at 1. So if you haven't gotten a ticket, you can at wiltontheater.org, I think. You can find the link on our website. But as you know, we have incredibly talented students all over this district, and so this is definitely a must-see. So hopefully everyone can find some time to go and just experience the wonderful actors that we have here in our community. On the note of invitations, it's also noted on the back of the agenda. We have a big night next Tuesday at 6 o'clock down in the Zellner. We are hosting our second Wilton Public Schools Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and so that'll be in the Zellner. And so as we've shared previously, we are inducting 4 new members. The 1962 Wilton High School graduate John G. Kaur, who was very well known here in this high school. He was a soldier in Vietnam who was killed in action in 1967. We are honoring 1985 Wilton High School graduate, retired Air Force Colonel Jennifer Fulmer, who is just an absolute wonderful person to behold. She's had a very, very lengthy and successful military career, and then when she left the military, she started a not-for-profit up in Maine to help soldiers transition to community life. So we're looking forward to recognizing her. One person who is near and dear to our hearts is another 1975 Wilton High School graduate and very long time teacher. I think the number is 43 years of service, Mr. Paul Schluntz. So we look forward to celebrating with Paul next Tuesday. And then last and not least, another person that has a huge heart and a huge personality, our longtime golf coach who has just inspired so many of our young men and women, both on and off the golf course, who's a wonderful community member, Jack Majeski. And so we look forward to celebrating Jack. So please mark your calendars, and we will celebrate those 4 with this really prestigious ceremony. I'm going to go off script for a second, and you just never know who's going to show up at a Board of Education meeting. And so a few minutes ago, before the meeting started, I was like, where's everybody? We usually have 2 or 3 camera folks here. And then in walks a young man. I have to have you step out from the camera just for a moment. So Max von Bartelt is a 2020 Wilton High School graduate who was, you're 2019. I see, I'm 2019, 2020, yeah. But so Max was one of the architects of WE TV. So I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. Your hair's gotten long.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I understand that happens. I used to have long hair in college. So 2 questions. So where are you? 3 questions.
Okay.
How's it going? And how well did Wilton High School prepare you?
I am now in the summer, going into my senior year at RIT up in Rochester. I am on the RIT Baja team. We just came 3rd place in Tennessee. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm a product design major, so that's gone pretty fun. And I feel like Wilton High School did a pretty good job preparing me. I came more from the engineering side of things, whereas some people came from the art side. I didn't take that many art classes here, but I feel like having the strong engineering background is really helping me. So it's going really well.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for letting me put you on the spot. Congratulations on being so successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love, these guys never leave. They just don't, they keep, every time, right about this time of year, we just see, numerous alums. So thank you for pitching in tonight,
Yeah,
too.
of course.
Yes, thank you for helping.
Welcome
Thank
back.
you. Welcome.
Great, so just a few other updates. We had kindergarten, our first in-person kindergarten orientation. Ruth, thank you for being there yesterday and the day before. So we're looking forward to welcoming over 220 new kindergartners. The 2 registration orientation days were terrific. So hats off to Mrs. Kuhn and her entire fabulous team who rolled out the red carpet as only they can and really made our new kindergartners and our new parents feel really welcome and at home. So thank you for that.
That's
Kathleen,
great.
oh, there she is.
That's
All right.
great.
Yeah, so bravo. And so last update here, we learned about a week and a half ago that we have 2 national PTA reflections winners. Both are students at the high school. So Rajna Nuranian earned the Award of Excellence in Visual Arts, and Jordan Huff earned the Award of Merit in Photography. So congratulations to those 2 for making it all the way to the national competition. Thank you, I'm all set.
Good. Committee reports, teaching and learning.
Do you have 2 or 1? I have 1, you have 1? Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
So we had a very engaging and quite long teaching and learning committee meeting. We started out with the mental health and sort of where we are with that. And so we definitely seem to be overstretched with kids and lack of resources. And then we have the screening tools and we have the determination at risk, but we lack referral references, and certain grades are really more impacted than others. So there was a big concern that we have kids that are just sort of in limbo as we try to navigate through resources that we can help them with. And so we have a lack of resources right now, and we don't have enough people to really help in the appropriate way. And there are many obstacles to that. There's insurance problems, there are providers, there's wait lists. So we need to kind of think about how we can do this better. Because there was clear concern that the kids aren't getting the help enough and quickly enough. We have some issues in the lower grades. Many kids did not go to school, so their social skills are struggling, shall we say. And so we have to kind of, that's making the classrooms hard to manage with kids that obviously have had the experience of a preschool or somewhere else, or been in kindergarten somewhere else, and kids that have not been to school at all. So I think the mental health staff, as Andrea said in the meeting, was that they're working overtime. They're beyond their contracted hours because the need is so great. And that's something that I think as a team, as a board, that we need to think about more carefully. We have kids in crisis at different levels in the different schools, and we're probably not seeing all the ones that are potentially going to bubble up. So I think it's something that I think every school district probably is struggling with, and we're not the only one, but it would be wonderful if we could kind of think about ways to address this, because this is sort of not going to go away, I don't think. So that was a hard one. And we talked briefly about doing a clinic, but that's going to take money and resources that it will be that'll be hard for us to manage, but not something that we should not try to think about. Then we had a recruiting and hiring practices. So I had asked that because I know that this is the hiring time, and I knew Maria was kind of like struggling with, not even struggling, but I was curious as to how this operates. So she talked about a profile for a candidate with metrics covering compassion, innovation, affirming, and collaborative. And we talked about, whether people want to be teachers anymore, especially after COVID. But apparently they do, because we had 700 applicants for 35 positions. And she went on about how great the staff is, and I certainly agree with that. And we have people that are coming in with teaching as a second opportunity for a career, and that kind of makes them more focused, I would think. And so we have cello players and chefs and people that we value their life experiences. Our retention rate is about 90%. We have shortages in bilingual math and speech and language, and we're up against a trend where teaching is not a particularly valued profession at the moment. There are other opportunities, and so people are not thinking about being a teacher as strongly as they used to. And we've had and there's definitely a shortage of a diverse staff, and Maria's working very hard on that, to create a diversified staff. We had a quick meeting about coaches, and then we generally ran out of time, but it was something that I think we could have a workshop about, so that
Well.
a lot of us could understand the process more. I mean, I think I do, but I think it would be interesting for us to watch it in action. And that, we went on for about an hour and a half, so it was a long, interesting meeting, for sure. That's it.
We also had a meeting in April that we haven't talked about just yet. We talked about the Genesis program. Andrew was there to just kind of give us another update. It was on the heels of our meeting here in person. So it was kind of short. We just talked about the bulk of the student body is 7th to 10th graders, and that we really focus on social needs and academic needs, and that it's really nice that the upper grade kids help out the younger grade kids. So it's nice that they all seem to get along together, and it just kind of is a mutually great experience for all of them. We talked about accelerated learning, that it was designed to address unfinished learning, and that it would take some time to get going, but the most important part was making sure that we had everything in place so that when the need is present, we're ready to go. We also talked about, the rest of it was a lot about the math program. And I know we'll talk about this more in depth later, but I think the greatest challenges to the math program right now are unfinished learning, and at Middlebrook it's the ongoing scheduling issues and not having enough instructional time to, devote that they would like to. Trudy went over a bunch of different things, just talking about how we had changed the sequence and where we were with that whole process. And our 6th graders that when we started the change are now only in 8th grade, so there's not a ton of data to really kind of go to kind of check and see how that all went, especially because we had COVID in the middle of it. She went over kind of what the requirements were to place into different groups, and then kind of talked about how we're measuring success, and standardized testing came up, as well as tests and quizzes, and that's pretty much it. We've kind of been reaching out to the high school to kind of determine whether or not our other classes are prepared and ready to go, and then there was some question about what is prepared. So something else for us to kind of keep talking about, and I know it's an ongoing conversation, but there's a little bit more in the notes that we wrote, but that's kind of just a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are thorough reports. Thank you.
Can I ask a question related to the mental health part of the Teaching and Learning Committee? One of the action items that I think I listened into and heard was Kevin, going to see Lynn Vanderslice. Is that on the books?
Yeah, I did. I reached out to Lynn, and so she's exceptionally well tied up in the next several weeks. So Kim is going to start with Sarah Heath. So I shared with Sarah, with Lynn, the slides that were shared at Teaching and Learning, and then so Kim will go to Sarah, and then we'll go from there.
Can the whole board see those slides?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, they're probably up already and I've missed them, but thanks. And I know business operations has not met since I last reported, and I know policy, you're about to take over the meeting, so we'll wait on that. I just have a quick update from CABE. Every once in a while they have a chairs sort of Zoom meeting, and I only want to highlight that in relation to the mental health issues, that the legislative body is working on several bills, one of which, if the governor signs it, will end up surveying all the schools and asking about staffing levels and utilization, the need, and then having a grant program. So that's I think that's good news. Also, trying to extend training, and there's even a bill that has an idea that's just a germ about trying to extend certification for mental health providers. They call it human service permit. So That needs a whole lot of study. Obviously, there's lots of parameters around that, but it's a concept of, is there any way to get more people trained, at least for certain pieces of it? So I just wanted to say that we're not alone in that problem, and that the state is, I think, putting some money and effort behind it. So hopefully
That would be
Wilton will
good.
get its share. Yeah. And then the last thing, well, there's a lot of things from Kate, but the last thing I want to note for the whole board is for anybody that likes data and information, even though it's old, some of it's newer though. Test scores are old, but other stuff is new. Is their Ed site has been revamped, and it's really kind of cool, just in terms of information. And a lot of it's visual, more than in addition to just the charts. And so there's some new information there. They added the college persistence rate from the National Clearinghouse up there. So, as we kind of go down the road and we have questions about how are we doing compared to whatever, or what are other districts doing, there's a lot of information on the state, from everything from funding to performance to staffing to diversity to percentages of this, that, and the other. They are, however, refusing to make it easy to do DIRB comparisons, because I asked the question. And they basically, I was sort of, what is it, the skunk at the garden party? It was like, no, we don't want to talk about that. So you can find it, you just have to dig for it, that's all. Okay, thanks. Okay, COVID update, Dr. Smith.
Well, getting tired of talking about COVID, because I think we all are. Yes, and that
Your whole
is
family
the
had it?
theme. So it's been a tough couple of weeks, as you know, right? The numbers have increased week over week. If there is any good news this week, it looks like, at least from Monday to today, numbers are waning again, and we'll see where we are tomorrow and next week. But I think the gestalt, I think, is this. Just in terms of our practices, we continue to remain in very close contact with our medical professionals. We have biweekly calls with the State Department of Public Health. At this point, we're not changing practices or protocols. There's not a recommendation to do that. We took the step this week of recommending masks at larger group settings, so kindergarten orientation, the musical, etc. People always, students or adults, have the option to wear a mask if they so choose in our facilities. I've noted in the last 7 or 8 days a pretty significant rise in mask wearing, among our students, especially here. Kids have a lot of end-of-year events, and so I think people are just, taking as many safety precautions as they can to protect themselves. Again, just the indicators that we continue to monitor, in addition to just local case rates. We watch the activity on COVID Act Now. The State Department of Public Health continues to update the town-by-town website every Thursday, and no surprise, numbers are up. And so we are in a kind of monitoring phase. We encourage people to, if they're eligible, get vaccinated, continue to test. We have boxes and boxes of at-home tests that we can provide to people if they need them. And we would just encourage people to continue to monitoring symptoms and stay home if they have any symptoms. And we're going to hope for a downward turn.
Can I ask one question about all that?
Yeah.
Or one request, maybe? For our students that do have to quarantine, some of them reach out to teachers, but then teachers aren't allowed to immediately start allowing them to Zoom in until it has been confirmed with the nurse, who then notifies the administration, who then funnels it down. Is it possible that, I'm assuming we're doing it just to check so that not everybody can just call in?
Yeah.
Is it possible to allow those students to do that immediately, though, and then if we find out that it's not been verified, to pull their request?
Yeah, I'll talk with the administrators tomorrow.
I mean, it's happening quickly, but
Yeah.
the kids miss like the first day.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, and it's not that big a deal at the younger grades, but I think at the upper grades, it's a bigger deal. 'Cause it's then a class that you only meet every other day, so now you've already missed, and then it's trying to make up the work.
Yeah, I'll raise that tomorrow
I
morning.
have a hard time believing there's a whole lot of fraud about that going on.
Let's just not even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick it up with these guys tomorrow. We can just talk it through. I mean, you have to, the larger context was, as we were
Of
trying to
course.
sort this out in
Yeah.
the start of the year.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we have enough practice, and it's not so many kids that I think it would be overwhelming. So I imagine we could get some flexibility.
And can you update us on the request for,
Yes.
dispensation
So
for daring to use a tool that was readily available?
And easy to use. Well, I won't conjecture logic. Here's the update. I forwarded it to you. I reached out to Mike McKeon, who works at the State Department of Ed, and I had several questions. One was, has the commissioner made a recommendation yet on our request? The answer to that is not yet. We are scheduled to be on the agenda June 1st. So I will go, and as soon as I learn something else, I will let you all know, but you're welcome to join me. One of the questions I've been kind of waiting to answer is whether or not we need to do any additional lobbying on our behalf. I was waiting to see what the disposition of the commissioner's recommendation is going to be. But I think, just in the meantime, I'm going to reach out to the chair and the vice chair of the State Board of Ed and just, follow up with them directly. Mike had suggested that he didn't really have any insight that this was going to be a State Board decision. And so hopefully they will see the wisdom in our request.
Is it worth putting in a letter to the governor's office or another's office in advance of that?
Yeah, I
Just
don't know.
putting it on the radar? I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't know what it would hurt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the decision-making body is the State Board of Ed.
Okay. Okay.
But I think, we have, this is what, we're not asking for anything unreasonable or illogical
Yeah.
or permanent.
Are they allowing public comment?
I believe they
asked that
do.
too.
Yeah, I think it's a standard item on their agenda.
Like that we could zoom in?
I'm not sure if they're
you have to
running
be in
hybrid
person?
meetings, you have to be in person.
Okay.
We can find out.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
we
we
could
can just
find
pull
out,
the
because
agenda.
if we don't have to be in person, then I'm sure there are plenty of people in town that would be happy to stop
Or
it.
even if they wrote, wouldn't hurt if they wrote it.
Okay.
Some people will write in. I also brought it up at CABE, and I said, is there anything happening on the legislative side, because they were doing a legislative update. He said, well, there's a bill for K-12 use, but under certain circumstances, beginning in 2024.
How long does it take?
Do you really want to use logic?
I guess not.
So, yeah. So there's some, I don't know, I'm not sure why this is so controversial or difficult, but it seems to be. But okay, so should we draft a letter to the governor? Because we kind of need to agree so I can show you all the draft.
Yep.
Okay, I got consensus there.
Yes.
And we talked about it in a meeting.
Yeah.
So if I
If
push a
yes.
draft out, it's okay. All right, great. I will do
Can
that.
we have our kids, I know I missed this conversation at the last meeting, but can our kids write in their writing classes? Can they write something and we can send all the letters?
I haven't pushed that. I think I want to think about how to structure that.
Okay.
It's certainly an opportunity, and frankly, I wanted to give the state board, the commissioner, the opportunity to do the right thing
That was nice
before
of
we
you.
filled their inboxes.
I'm all for filling their inboxes. There's a hefty price tag attached
I
to
know
this.
there is.
Although if they grant this, I mean, first of all, they should say yes
Yes,
to
they
counting
should.
the day. But then, as you know, Kevin has the backup plan of saying, well, we'll take our 181st day next year and
Yeah.
count it as our 180th day this year.
Right.
So
Which is fine. I
that
mean, if
will
they'll do
avoid
that,
the financial
Right.
burden. But they have to approve that too?
Yes, I think, my sense is, I went back and looked at some old agendas in some other districts for different reasons, had made similar kinds of requests, and they were all denied. And so, I'm not anticipating that the state board is going to honor our request, even though our circumstances are different. What I'm hoping is that they'll at least look at the reasonable request of counting the day for next year, since it's in our calendar, and that because of the financial implication.
Right? I mean, that's
I
like the
know.
biggest. And like 12th graders, it didn't affect them because they went to school.
That's right.
And they won't be here,
that's-
so they
that's
can't
right.
use that as an
No,
excuse.
You're right.
That's,
No, and we exceed the minimum number of, required hours of instruction, so, and there have been other situations where the state board has granted that mechanism. I think Danbury was a situation the year we had all those storms. I don't know if it was 4 or 5 years ago. They just ran out of time because they'd lost so many days.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, again, we're not going under the 180 days.
I know.
It's just that it's not in person.
Right.
Okay. All right, thanks, Kevin. ARP ESSER 3 plan?
Yeah, so I just wanted to take a couple of minutes, and I know we've been through this information several times this year. We're required at the federal level just to periodically review the ESSER funding, and it's easy to lose detail. So I thought I'd just take a couple minutes tonight and review with you primarily around the two large grants, the ESSER 2 and then the ARP ESSER 3 grant. Again, how we have spent the money and how we plan to spend the money. So you have in front of you on that nickel size piece, at the top of the page, you can see we dedicated all of the ESSER 2 funds, the $371,193, to a half-time social worker and a full-time math interventionist. So those two positions were covered for this year, and they will be covered for next year. So they're in for next year. This grant expires at the end of next year, June 2023. And then reading down the rest of the page, we received $834,230 for the ESSER 3 ARP grants, and we dispersed those funds in a number of ways. We covered 2 classroom teachers at Miller Driscoll for this current year, and we'll cover them again through this grant next year.
Can I ask a question? That seems low.
So, thank you, because I asked Marianne the same question. I
Right.
said, and she said, these are, the 2 teachers we hired are masters, step 2. One of them has insurance, one of them doesn't. So this was about the least expensive pair of teachers we have. Is that correct, Marianne?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Therein lies the difference when you hire Masters 14 and above and Masters 2 and below.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny you say it, because I had the same exact question as I was looking at that. We invested a fair amount of those ARP ESSER funds this year in academic interventionists, and we set people up on these kind of 0.4, 0.45 constructs. The rationale there was just to try to stretch the dollar, so we were looking to avoid having to provide benefits. So of the 6 that we hired for this year, 5 of those we will not have next year. We're only funding one of those positions next year, and that's at about $51,000. That's at Miller Driscoll. As we've talked about before, we had hoped to engage in a contract with Family and Children's Services to provide additional social work staff. Family and Children's Aid was unable to hire, and so we're just not going forward with that contract. Rather, we're taking some of those funds and we're going to hire an additional half-time social worker for this coming school year. We ran reading and math summer intervention services. You see we spent about $58,000 there. That was K-8 and a little bit at the high school. We are running the K-8 program again this year. We also ran specifically at the high school an SAT prep course during the year, and I think we ran a small piece in the summer. We're not doing that again this summer. And then the last piece here, we invested some of those funds in professional learning, about $45,500 in a contract with the Connecticut Center for School Change. And so we won't continue to fund that contract through the grant. We'll probably engage with them, but in a much smaller capacity, and we'll use some of our professional learning funds that are baked into our budget to continue some of those consulting services. That's That's it.
At Wilton High School, was the decision not to continue that because it wasn't well attended, just?
It wasn't well attended, and we were specifically targeting this current group of juniors, as a cohort. You'll hear probably next week or the week after, Chuck in the high school will just talk about some of the longitudinal data around this. They're a group that has struggled to collectively perform at or above benchmark, and so we're trying to find ways to support them specifically.
Right, so as we look towards next year's budget,
Yes.
we're going to need to make some decisions
That's right.
and recommendations.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, and that's very much.
Because there's no talk of
No.
these positions, these grants, I'm sorry, continuing?
No, that's correct. No, I don't anticipate. That'll be the question, if we're going to retain these positions. My expectation would be they would have to be built into the budget, and so, as we evaluate the effect of some of them, or the need for some of them, that'll be a question. The administrators are all well aware of that, so am I, so that's a major conversation as we begin the budget development process.
All right, thank you. Questions, comments? All right, summer academic intervention program.
Chuck is just going to provide a brief update.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. So we're going to offer the summer intervention program again. I hope you remember the wonderful data we reviewed at the beginning of this year for those students who participated in last year's summer intervention program, and the amazing amount of growth that many of those students made. So I just wanted to go over a little bit about our plans for this coming summer. We're going to be offering the program to intervention students in grades K to 8. Unfortunately, there was no interest on the part of any of our high school students who receive intervention to participate in the summer program. It's going to run 4 days, Monday through Thursday mornings for 4 consecutive weeks, July 11th through August 4th. Unfortunately, with the school year ending so late, we really weren't able to get any weeks in during the month of June. Students may select the weeks that work for them, 1, 2, 3, or all 4. And instruction will be a 45-minute intensive group session daily in reading and or math. Students who receive dual intervention can enroll in both summer reading and summer math if they choose. We sent out invitations to the summer program to all of the intervention students in early March, and the registration was open through early April, so it was about 4 weeks. But we will enter new students after we review the May map. So if students are eligible to be entered into intervention at that point, they will also be invited to summer. We're currently in the process of sending confirmation letters to the parents to confirm the weeks that their student is registered, and we'll send another letter to parents communicating group times and other daily program specifics in late May, early June. At this point, there are a total of 104 students enrolled in summer reading, 43 at Miller Driscoll, which is about 51% of all of the intervention students, 36 at Cider Mill, which represents 44%, and 25 at Middlebrook, which is about 45%. So almost half of the students have enrolled in reading. There are currently 89 students enrolled in summer math, 18 at Miller Driscoll, which is 64% of the students receiving intervention, 27 at Cider Mill, which is 68%, and 44 at Middlebrook, which is about 40%. We do anticipate that enrollment will increase a bit after we review the map data for May, and my expectation is that that will probably be pretty significant in kindergarten. Summer intervention teachers will be running between 3 and 8 groups per day in both reading and math at each building. In terms of staffing, we posted the positions internally in early February, and we specifically encouraged the interventionists to apply. and we made our staffing decisions based on student enrollment. Our goal was to keep the group sizes small, ideally 3 to 5 students and no more than 6. We made the hiring decisions just before the April break. We are continuing to recruit and hire for a few remaining positions. We need a Middlebrook math teacher in week 4 and a reading teacher at Miller Driscoll week 4. So we've hired 16 summer intervention teachers today, looking to hire 2 more to complete the staffing needs for a total of 18. 11 of those will be our interventionists, 5 will be classroom teachers, and 2 will be instructional coaches. And our estimated budget is about $57,000, although it may go higher if we end up inviting more students and needing to add additional groups. So that's where we stand right now. Anybody have any questions?
Chuck, is it possible for you to give us, not right now, but a comparison number-wise of participation between last summer and this summer? It's like the number of kids.
Yes, we will get that
Okay.
for you. Chuck, I don't know if you heard that question. He
I
might.
don't know.
I'm thinking you lost them.
Oh.
Yes.
Size of the program.
Yes.
Yeah.
It went blank.
Sorry, we're
Yes.
going to compare. We want to compare enrollment from last summer to this summer.
Well, maybe I'll mute for the time.
No, you can't. I'll get that for you.
Thank you.
You got it.
Kidding
What-
for me.
Where's the cutoff for if a child's going to be offered intervention in math or in English? Do they make like the below the 40th percentile?
It was I think it was the 40th or below.
Yeah.
Here's the fixer. Other questions that we can write down and send to him? Okay.
How at the elementary school level, how long are the kids in school if they're just doing math or just doing English?
I think it's 1, isn't it?
Yeah, they're I think 45-minute sessions.
Okay.
4 days a week.
Are we still allowing kids to Zoom, or are you having them be in person?
I think they're in person. Ready
I'm
for yes, what?
assuming- Yeah, I'm assuming they can't hear us, so
Yeah.
let's move on then. Thank you, Chuck,
Okay.
if you can hear us.
Extended school year. ESY stands for Extended School Year. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act requires that every IEP team for each individual child with a disability make a decision each year about whether or not extended school year services are required to provide a free, appropriate public education. A lot of lingo, but that's my world. So I gave you information about the number of students across the levels. Not all students require extended school year services, but the team does make a decision. Typically, they look at 2 factors. First and foremost, they use a model of regression and recoupment, which means will the student lose important skills over the summer and be unable to regain them quickly within a reasonable time frame, typical of their peer group that has a little summer slide and comes back to school and quickly regains. If the child, by virtue of their disability, would have difficulty doing that, then we would recommend extended school year services. Additionally, we look at kids and we look at whether or not they are at a period where they are, where they have emerging skill development, functional and academic, that would be lost if there was an interruption in instruction. So those are the kinds of things we look at and the PPT team looks at to make the determination about whether or not a child requires special education and/or related services during the summer. So each child, again, has their individual plan for summer services and the full panoply of services that's available during the year is available in the summer should they need it. So speech and language, OT, PT, nursing services, specialized transportation, the full panoply of services is available. So what you see here are in your packet, and it's on the website for those out in the world on Zoom, the numbers of students who are participating, who will be participating in extended school year. We also invite, at the elementary level, we have a summer fun program for preschool through grade 5 to invite typically developing peers to come to the school, and you'll see the numbers of peers who have decided to join us this summer. We have a wonderful group of peers that come every year, and our kids work together with them. It's a great program, a lot of fun. So if you need a boost this summer, pop on over. It's a lot of good stuff. You see the staffing. We have 18 certified staff and 34 non-certified staff who will be working. We also have 2 nurses, one working at our elementary and one with the high school students and community steps. We also have Genesis. If you remember, Genesis really runs an 11-month program, so we don't necessarily, it is ESY, but it really is an 11-month program. It runs through the month of July, so all of the Genesis kids join us in the summer as well, in the month of July.
Is this held at Miller Driscoll?
Miller Driscoll is where pre-K 5 is, and then Middlebrook and the high school students and community steps are centered here. Community steps is obviously out in the world.
Right.
Andrea, how many kids do you guys have coming? How many IEP kids do you have coming?
That number's on
Is that what I'm missing?
the first page, so you see 62 students from Miller Driscoll,
That's
53 from Cider Mill. Those are students with IEP.
Okay.
Do you know what sort of percentage of the total?
I don't, but
Special ed
I haven't done that math, but I can get you the percentage of the total number of IEP students.
Yeah,
I
right.
can do the math for you.
Okay.
And similar to what I asked for Chuck, is our enrollment kind of steady year to year?
It really is kind of steady year to year. Typically, you have more students at the elementary level, more emerging skills at the elementary level, students newly identified, so they're just getting their services underway, so we tend to extend. Preschoolers, those are emerging skill years, so we tend to do a lot more extended school year. The older the students get, as you would expect, their skills are becoming more solidified, and they don't necessarily need to, not to mention they are adolescents and they don't necessarily want to be in school in the summer. So, so we have those pieces. And we do run a very program for our most complex kids. Those students are with us in the summer.
It's about a quarter.
So do they have the choice of coming if they qualify, or are they expected, or?
They're expected.
But not required?
We don't, there are no teeth to it.
Okay.
We expect students to come. Families go on vacations and make
Sure.
other decisions. Some kids go to sleepaway camps and other options. But the vast majority of kids who are invited to ESY attend ESY.
They do, okay, that's
I
right.
think most families want their kids
Oh, yeah, they want
to
them,
go.
yeah,
They don't want
absolutely.
a huge gap because there's
Yeah.
so hard then coming back in September.
It's really a great thing to do, to maintain the level of learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess maybe, Angela, that's what I was thinking about pre-K. How many pre-K kids do you guys have?
Most of the pre-K is invited to ESY.
Okay.
So the vast majority of the pre-K. Remember that our pre-K kids begin on their 3rd birthday, so some kids are beginning right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we don't
That's
want
right.
to start them and then stop them. So our pre-K, most of the kids come through the month of July, or invited to come.
Okay.
Probably for a later or a different time, is I'm just wondering what the effect of the accelerated learning model has been on the special ed population. And you don't need to, answer right now, but I'm just thinking, in terms of the expectation or the worry that some students will regress. Has accelerated learning, has that changed anybody's progress or thinking or
summer slide type issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. And also the ability to make it up in the fall. So again, I'm not asking for an answer now, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
that we should look at what the impact on accelerated learning has been with special ed needs. I don't know if there's any way of teasing that out.
I think there will be in terms of the academic skill piece. Some of the other issues we face are harder to measure against an accelerated learning model.
Oh, sure, no,
Yeah.
I think accelerated learning is aimed at academics, so it would be the
Yes.
academic piece,
Yeah.
yes. That's a better
Remembering
question.
that many of our students with disabilities, the
It's
academic
different.
side is not necessarily the
The primary,
targeted
right,
deficit.
right, yeah. So where
Yeah.
it's relevant, maybe we could look at
Yep.
it.
And we'll try to find a way.
Questions, comments, more? All right. And all the teachers are willing, able, and available?
We have a staff.
Okay.
Nicely put.
We have a staff.
It's a lot of
That's probably
staff,
the
so.
trickier part.
Well, and it's, the hard parts, speech and language pathologists, OTs, PTs, we have a staff. We were worried, trust me.
Yeah.
We were worried that this was going to be a year where we were going to have a hard time staffing the entire program. Many school districts are having a very difficult time staffing their program, but we have a very dedicated team.
Great.
And so
Great,
we're lucky.
yeah, we'll say thank you for us. That's wonderful. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Website.
This is exciting. Fran, take it away.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm doing a presentation tonight on where we are with our website. And you probably heard through the budget discussion that we have gone to a new vendor that came from the fact that we were ending a 5-year contract with Finalsite, our current vendor. And as a group, our webmasters, myself and others, meet to discuss, where we are. And one of the things that we looked at is, could we do better? We looked at a number of different vendors that we had demos with that, actually do apps and also website. And we decided after we saw this particular demo of Gabbert Communication, which is the vendor that we're going with, that in fact we would be able to do much better because, and you'll see as I go through it, the features that are included, it comes with an actual app, so it's the website, and I'll show you where we are with the website itself, but there's an app. There's a number of different widgets that make it really easy to use. And, I know you heard the good news, we're saving a lot of money. Essentially, the ROI on this, the return on investment, is just amazing because we are not only getting the website, we're getting the app. It comes with an e-notification system. And it does something that we have to kind of do behind the scenes, which is ADA compliance with our website. So it also helps us with that. So we thought that it was a really exceptional, value, and it also provides us with this opportunity to reboot our entire way that we're communicating. So I wanted to talk to you about that. So we can, Adi, thank you. We can go on to the next slide, which is what I just went through. So let's go on to the next one. With our agreement with Gabbert, the big features are that it's got exceptional support, very responsive, and you get a person on the line. I put that up top because anybody that's worked with anything technology-wise knows how important that is. When things aren't working, you need to get a hold of somebody. It is very easy to use. We've done training already with the webmasters. We've done 2 sessions of 2.5 hours each. And we're going to be doing further. Talked about the cost saving. They also are including a free yearly redesign. So after we live with the website and the app for an entire year, we can garner more feedback and make some changes. And I talked about the fact that this includes the app, the ADA compliance and notifications. So a couple of weeks ago, I went out with a thought exchange survey to our parent community so that they could actually help us with the design process of the website as well as the app. The question we asked was, as we work to, redesign this user-friendly website, which areas of the website do you frequent the most, and what features, do you want to see? So we had almost 200 parents participate, and we had almost 2,000 ratings within Thought Exchange. So on the next page, if you go 2 more slides, Adi, the next one, I just want to show you this slide. So this is basically what parents go to the site for the most. And overwhelmingly, it was the calendar, probably not surprising. District calendar, a need to, have up-to-date school events and have those events for each of the schools. The second was the parent portal, and the idea of having particular systems and things that parents need at their fingertips, really easy to get to. Power School, Schoology, those were the things that, dismissal manager at the lower levels, school bucks, and ways to pay for different things, whether it be lunch menus, et cetera. So they just wanted a really easy way to do that. Also being able to contact staff members, teachers, administrators, et cetera. So having that directory of information, contact us information. One suggested make sure that you have links to the phone number so it's really easy to call. And then just really easy to find some departments like nursing, the nurses, and being able to get to that easily. Lunches, absolutely really important. Being able to access lunch menus easily. Being able to order lunches and also pay for them. And then finally, all kinds of notifications. One comment was that there's just so much coming in through the email that it would be really nice to have it consolidated through another way. And so we're going to look at all those opportunities. The following slide shows just a word cloud of all the words that were kind of used throughout the survey, and you'll see calendar really big and events and make it easy. That was really important. So you kind of see what people were thinking. Going on to the next couple of slides, it's just really a review of what I've been talking about in making the website easier to navigate, and things like including clubs and activities and, all of those types of things. Going on to the next slide, you'll see that calendar was, like I said, the very first thing that came up. Parents need it to plan. They basically want to get to things like early closing, professional development days, knowing when summer camps and holidays are. So all of that, and up to date in real time also came up. Board of Ed meeting notes was something that was suggested as having an easy way to get to that information. Going on to the parent portal on the next one, you'll see the types of things that, that are wanted in a parent portal. Even COVID rates were brought up, the dismissal manager, lunch money, just a number of different systems and information all in one place. On the next page, you'll see more information about the request for that email directory, contact us. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that. And then finally, the last set of feedback was about the lunches. Okay, so going on to the next.
I like that question. What time is lunch over?
Yeah, you need to know, right?
Did I eat too much?
Student asked that, what time do you want?
So on to the next slide. Then you'll see that right now, we're literally in the process within the next week of doing the mock-up and designing our own app. So what this will mean is that parents will be able to download an app that is basically our website app that, out of Apple Store, depending on what kind of phone they have, and getting the actual app. It's going to be called Campus Life, but we're going to call it Wilton Public Schools Campus Life. And on the next page, you'll see what it will probably look like and the categories, because we have to choose the categories that are really quick and easy to get to, that we'll probably, start with. As I said, calendar, directory, lunches, news, parent portal. These are all the things that came up in the survey, so that's what we're going to reflect in the app. We'll have a nice, picture on the top and Wilton Public Schools on the top, but it will be our own app.
Is
So-
it going to be school specific? Or is it going to be like district, and then within that you can?
It's going to be a
tailor it
district
with-
specific, it's going to be district, and
Okay.
within that, we'll be able to tailor it. So if you go to the lunches, you'll be able to go to the
Which school
different
it is,
schools,
or
yeah.
calendar,
Yep.
district versus. all
That's
of them.
correct, yep. So that's where we are with that, and if we go on to the next slide, I am going to be able to show you where we're at with the website, because we've been in the process of mocking it up. So if you click on that new Wilton Public Schools website, it's a link. Great, thank you. Okay, so this is the unveiling of our new website. You'll notice the very top looks probably similar to what we've got right now. Our navigation is going to change just a little bit. You'll see that there's a little house, which is our home, so you'll be able to easily get back to home all the time. On the right-hand side, you'll see the magnifying glass. That's our search bar. And then in between, you'll see some things that look familiar. We've added really straight, easy to get to teaching and learning, so we'll have all our curriculum information very easy to get to. Board of Education, of course, is there. Resources divided up so that we have like parent and you can, if you click on just like resources, you get an idea. We have like the parent resource, student resources, staff resources, community resources, all in one place. The navigation itself is interesting. If you go to departments, you see that you can go to one of the, I can't remember which one already has pages with it. I think it might be digital learning. But if you go down and you scroll to them, you'll see that you can easily go from one thing to another so that it's less clicks and you can just navigate easily. So everything's going to be set up in that way. At the very top, you'll see our big quick links, our calendar, contact us, and I want to. We've had, and it's been very popular with our parents. It's a very quick way to get to things that parents want. So that's our very top. You'll see right now that we're using the same slideshow that we've got on our current website. That is going to change. We are in the process of kind of imagining what that could be. We do have, with this particular vendor, the choice of either a slideshow of photographs or videos. So we can actually have video footage up there, which would be nice. And if you go down a little bit further, you'll see that we have particular shortcuts. And, we've got the parent portal, we've got student services, human resources is in there. You'll see on the right-hand side, I'm getting ready to post information about summer learning. So that's going to be up there. And we'll be able to change these throughout the year as, summer learning comes down and we want to put something else. It's, beginning of the school year information. So that, those are ways that we can personalize each of the school sites as well. Each of the schools will have their own shortcuts underneath. So Middlebrook, for instance, might have something like Middlebrook Teams, because that's what they have in their school. That will be done with the principals and the webmasters. There will be a news widget, as you can see underneath, and each of those stories have like a little bit of introduction to what the story is about, the picture, and then if you go to look at the second one, Audie, if you click on full article for the billboard art, it brings you right to the full article. So it'll be very easy to go back and forth between that. We'll go back to the home page. So we're touring this. If you go down a little bit further, our calendar is going to look a little different. So we're going to have upcoming events on the left-hand side. We're going to have a full calendar on the right-hand side. And we will have different calendars that, we'll have calendars for each of the schools. We'll have athletic calendars, all of the types of things that parents have come to expect. The back end thing is that we will be able to use Google Calendars, which everybody's really accustomed to using, within our secretarial staff and others. And rather than having a calendar that's on the website as well as separate calendars, if you keep the one calendar and you just basically connect it, it makes it much more efficient and an easier way to update it. Keep on going down, you'll see that we've got tweets. We're going to have social media. On the left-hand side, we're going to have our Facebook basically come back. The last time we actually updated our Facebook account was several years ago, and we'd like to have that account there. The tweets are a little bit different now because they actually scroll through, and so you can actually scroll through the tweets and you can see a number of them all at the same time, which is very nice. And then if you go down just a little bit further, this is going to be where we're going to have some highlights. You'll see that I just put the mission up right now, which is very nice, with the graduation picture from last year. And that will be a place we can highlight things like Portrait of the Graduate and different images. Going down, parents will be able to download the app, and there will be instructions there, as well as the notifications. We're not using School Messenger. We will be continuing to use that. But this, like I said, this particular agreement includes a notification system that we can slowly roll out and do things like newsletters through it. The following is actually a YouTube feed that would be something that we can do different playlists and, different things that we'd like to highlight. Right now, we did a little reel. I think you guys actually helped me out with this, and we pulled pieces from submissions that all our students made to our Area 9 Access Awards channel. So these are different little PSA pieces and documentaries, et cetera, that we compiled and made one reel out of. And finally, at the very bottom, you'll see there's a little numbers thing that goes up in terms of, some of our statistics and our footer. So this is really where we are right now. We are continuing right now to add content on the internal pages. The website goes live on July 1st, this new website. So we are going from Final Site to Gabbert at that point. The app may be coming a little bit later, but we'd like to have it at the beginning of the school year. This is a tremendous amount of work to put it all together, but I think that it really provides us with this wonderful opportunity of rebooting how we present ourselves and, really at every different level. I've been meeting with every department. They've got wonderful ideas of what to do with their sites so that we can actually elevate how we use the internal pages as well. So thank you, Adu.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, it looks really great.
Done a lot of work in a very short time. I commend you. Did the thought exchange, did you get, do you know who was from which school?
I did have a breakdown, yeah. So, I have to go back into it because there are things like the athletics button, which the high school parents were mostly interested in, so, which makes sense. So I'd have to go back and take a look at it that way.
Will there be an additional opportunity for parent feedback? I think it'd be really useful to have maybe a focus group, especially for high school or Middlebrook parents. I think at the elementary school level, it's all about lunch and school dismissal manager. But I know as a parent, I definitely sought out more information with a high schooler.
Absolutely. And I think that even within the PTA groups and, as this actually continues, I think one of the things that we're really excited about is that, every year we wanted to make changes to Final Site, but that was an additional cost because redesign did not come easily and it was expensive. So the fact that a redesign is part of our, our contract makes it really enticing for us to make sure that we get this right and we continue the conversation with parents.
Yeah. On the app with the parent portal, there is an app version of PowerSchool. So I think I don't know if School Dismissal Manager or anything else has an app, but it might be an opportunity for parent education. I don't think every parent knows there is a separate app for PowerSchool, and I don't know, I can't remember if there's apps for anything else. I just use PowerSchool.
School dismissal manager,
Yeah.
the lunch menus, school box. I have them all grouped together under a school.
Yeah.
There's a number of different apps,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if, if you have a parent portal on the website as kind of like your main entry, and then you have links to the different things, if that's helpful to parents.
Yeah.
Just
if
to have
they're
that.
if they're looking at it from a computer.
Yeah.
But if they're actually on their phone already looking for something, I think we might need to educate people that there is an app for PowerSchool, there's an app for School
Yeah.
Dismissal Manager. I'm
Yeah.
not sure everybody knows that.
No, and I think one of the things we will have to do with this, because of the fact that parents need to download the app to use it, we're going to have to do some awareness. We will have to do some parent workshops. Take them sort of like through a tour of the website so that they'll be able to navigate it, and also go through the fact that they can download the app and sign up for the notifications.
Little video thing would be great for that. Just a
We can even
5-minute
put the video right on the
Yeah.
homepage. As you can tell, there's a video component to it. Yeah.
Other questions or comments? All right, thanks for all your work on it, and good luck July 1st.
Thank you, Fran.
Yeah. Okay, next item, new policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'll turn that over to Ruth and Nicola.
So, you've got the draft policy went out with the agenda, and I just have some thoughts to share. So, this fall, we committed ourselves as a board to a set of goals. And those goals included supporting initiatives to achieve Portrait of the Graduate goals, such as inspiring and preparing all students to contribute meaningfully to a global interdependent society, and to determine appropriate purposes, parameters, and best practices for addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's with these goals in mind that the policy committee drafted the DEI policy currently before the board. Over the last several months, the policy committee has been reviewing existing policies related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and concluded that the best way to advance DEI efforts was to create a new policy that clearly and succinctly states the values and purpose of current and future DEI efforts and programs. The policy directly discusses the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The policy states that the board views the diversity of our student body, our staff, and our community as a strength, and that differences are an essential part of our history and current and future reality. The board all believes that recognizing perspectives beyond one's own is a critical thinking skill that can result in greater open-mindedness, increased empathy, reduced stereotyping, and deeper learning and growth. The policy advances a clear purpose: to ensure the school environment and curricula promotes belonging and reflects the principles of respect, dignity, and equal opportunity for all. That teaching and learning promotes mutual respect, civility, diversity of thought and ideas, and positive communication in the classroom. The policy further defines diversity, inclusion, and equity, equal opportunity. The policy then directs the superintendent to promulgate regulations and establish plans and procedures as may be necessary to accomplish the policy's purpose and intent within the distinct areas of governance, teaching and learning, family and community engagement, and workforce diversity. And the policy committee looks forward to discussing the draft with the entire board.
Questions, comments?
Okay, I'll jump in. It's great. I think you guys clearly put a lot of time and effort into this, and I appreciate it, so thank you. We've already had a chance to briefly chat. My only comment about all of it is the very last part, which talks about the social justice part of it. And it's not it's not what's written here on this policy. It kind of is more what translates into the teaching and learning aspect of it and what our kids are being taught in terms of social justice. So not really a conversation for your policy. I like your policy as it stands. I think it's going to come back to teaching and learning at some point for us to kind of further discuss. But beyond that, thank you. You guys did a great job.
Anyone else?
It's very encompassing, very thoughtful. It's really good.
Normal process, you know, this is first read, take time, sit with it, you know. Feel free to, you know, raise questions that might want to come back to the board table with for next meeting and second read.
Yeah, we thought we would keep it on as a review and discuss for
Twice.
another meeting, and then
Then we'll vote.
Yeah.
if there are not any
Yeah.
proposals for any substantive
Yeah.
change, we'll look to adopt the
Yeah.
second June meeting.
Yeah, it looks like, well, it reads as if you took your time to do it thoughtfully and carefully and over a long period of time. I personally like that it's not boilerplate, that it seems to have been sensitively done for this time, this community, our aims, so I like that too. My only, I don't know, not question, but maybe suggestion, or maybe you can't do it, but under governance and then teaching and learning, you mentioned data under governance. I just wonder if there's a way to incorporate data under teaching and learning as well. Because I just kind of want to, rather, sort of veer away from, sometimes we get into making generalizations and we're not sure if it's really
Having the impact or.
having an impact, or if it's really happening, or if it's really accurate. So I just always kind of want to get back to the,
Perhaps we can look at someplace under where we evaluate the curricula and instructional material,
Yeah,
somewhere
so
in
I'm
there,
thinking the
work
same
in
thing, yeah.
a data component.
and I also, I'm glad that you included diversity of thought. And I think that's sometimes missed in policies such as this. All right, so we'll,
Yeah.
as you read it or think about it, or, and this is, encourage everybody in public, everyone,
Yes.
parents to read it, and if they have reactions or questions, just absolutely email us in general or you in particular.
To engage on it, yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
It's well written. Whoever did that is very well
I
written.
am a highly educated Uber driver at the moment, so.
Overeducated Uber driver.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, contract negotiations. This is a update schedule kind of
This
thing.
is, yeah, so Maria's just
Yeah.
going to give you 2 minutes on what's coming up, because we're going to be busy in the next number of months here with contract negotiations. So, good evening, Maria.
Good evening, everyone. That's right, it's going to be a busy few months ahead of us. Pam mentioned earlier that it's hiring season, which it is. It's also negotiation season. And this year, we are either in the process of negotiating or are going to begin negotiating with 3 of our 4 bargaining units. It's unusual to have so many negotiations going on simultaneously, but what's been typical over the past 2 years, probably the only thing that's been typical is for us to say, well, it's because of the pandemic. And in this case, it is. We waived timelines for a number of the different bargaining units over the past 2 years just because of the complexities of the pandemic and gathering groups of people together. So I'm just going to take you through the 3 that we're going to be negotiating. First, with our custodial unit, we had a 5-year contract with the custodial group. And 3 years into the contract, there was a required reopener for wages and benefits. We deferred that in 2020 when the reopener, came into effect, and have been spending the past year essentially working through that. Again, some complexities with the pandemic and gathering people together, but we are in the process of mediating through that. And then the actual contract expires in June. So we've just begun talking about setting dates to negotiate the full contract, which will include wages and benefits as well, but all of the other benefits in the contract. Our secretarial, custodial, and paraprofessional group had a 4-year contract which expired last spring, and we extended the agreement by 1 year with a focus solely on wages and benefits. And so the contract and the extension agreement will expire this June, and we're meeting next week to set dates and work through that process. And then finally, our teachers union, which is our largest bargaining unit, has a 3-year contract which will expire in June of 2023. But we always begin that process earlier. We begin it typically, informally by having conversations in the spring about goals, and then formally in the fall, because that's typically a process that takes longer than the smaller bargaining units. So we have a busy few months ahead. I know we'll have some board representatives working on each of the negotiation committees, and we're looking forward to some productive conversations with our units.
Yep, so I'll send a note out with kind of date ranges and time commitment expectations. The WEA is the big one. That's generally the lengthiest negotiation, and it's not uncommon to have at least one, sometimes two, late night, early morning sessions as part of that. But I'll send that all in writing, and then we'd be looking for.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have some board member representation in each of those.
And then we usually invite a Board of Finance observer.
To the WEA, we do.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Any questions, comments?
What you used a term for the custodial negotiations that you said a re-enter or
reopener.
What is that?
So we had a 5-year contract. You want me to? Yeah.
Oh, yes, please, sure.
So we had a 5-year contract, and so 3 years into it, we had negotiated to go back and to reopen or to renegotiate wages and benefits.
After 3 years?
After 3 years, correct. And so that reopener was deferred because of the pandemic.
Right.
And so now, we had an initial, conversation with them some months ago, but we're moving towards mediation on that piece of it, and then the whole actual contract is due for renegotiation this coming year.
Busy time.
Yes.
Do you guys agree to have a reopener because not everybody's on board with the current decision, but they agree to
It was, so,
accept it?
I'd have to go back and look at the rationale, because, it was a 5-year contract, which was
Right.
also unusual.
Yeah.
And so I think, part of that was, at the time when we were negotiating, we were still, had questions about healthcare. And so we were looking at the stability of a 5-year contract as a benefit to the board and to the district. Then one of the just consolation agreements was to go back and look at wages and benefits again 3 years in. A 3-year contract is more typical.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
Sounds like fun.
One way to describe it.
That's a lot.
There were 2 workshops I saw on, learning how to negotiate. One was at Harvard for $3,000, or something outrageous, and the other one was at Cave, but you have to drive to the middle of Middletown. So I don't know if anybody wants. I think the $3,000 Harvard one's probably off the table.
Yeah, is that the?
Darn.
No, we should talk about it if you're serious about it.
I'm just kidding. No, it's a lot of time too. All right. So you'll send an update and
I will.
calendar. Okay. Thank you, Maria. Possible action items, Board of Ed meeting calendar. I would like to defer this. I think we need to look at a little bit of the budget stuff, some of the meeting stuff, and also Board of Finance keeps saying we want to, do stuff earlier, and I don't know what that means. So.
And I would
that's-
like to, if possible, to include them on the workshop scheduling.
Yeah. Yeah, rather than just put it here,
Yeah.
ask them.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so if you don't mind, just.
We did invite, but I'm saying like, let's agree.
Oh, we always
Always.
invite,
Yeah.
but maybe now we'll say.
Does
you
the
know, what do you
state
think
work
of
for
these
you?
dates?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and all of us, look at this and, make sure that it makes sense, et cetera. Okay, so then you see, sorry, can I have a motion to defer this?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Thanks. Then our dates, we're gonna be seeing a lot of each other between now and graduation, so get ready. Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, all right, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Adjourned at 8:43.
I have something real before I forget. Tuesday, I registered with you to do that.
Oh, yes.
Communications. But, I have a
Yeah, I started
birth,
at
my daughter's turning 8.
in industrial.
And I'm taking her over to Middletown to, Star 99 and
Yes.
we're gonna get a tour.
That's great.
Yes.
All right, well, you'll be missed.
So-
Your birthday is much more important.